Hello, everyone. Welcome to Broc Gardner versus the world. I hope you're having one of the greatest days of your life, because I sure am. Today we had Dallee Cobb on, one of my dearest, greatest friends. First woman on the podcast. This is a mile marker for this show. We're all inclusive. We talked about she's interested in psychology and sociology. So we talked a lot about that sort of thing and like how the brain works and just people in general and what is interesting about them. A lot about mental illness, body image, that sort of thing, social media. We get into a lot of different things, goals. It's just a lot. I hope you enjoy the podcast. It's a really good one. Thanks, guys. Dallee Cobb, Broc Gardner versus the world. Let's go. Dallee Cobb, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
That's absolutely amazing.
Yes.
This is a milestone for the podcast. I don't know if you know that.
Am I the first girl to be on here?
The first woman on the podcast, dude.
Yes.
We're making strides. We're going to have every
Love this.
single demographic represented by the time this podcast is over.
Freak yeah.
It's going to be great, dude. And we got this beautiful new table. Look at this table, ladies and gentlemen.
Let me just model it.
Thank you to Matthew Bowler. Oh my goodness. He lit this thing on fire, dude. Do you see the burn marks? And it's sturdy.
You're like in love with this thing.
I'm in love with this table. I'm in love with this microphone. And I'm in love with this podcast. So let's give it a go. Dallee,
Yes.
senior in high school,
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
Am I right in that assumption?
I believe so. If you're not, I'd be worried.
Enterprise High School.
Yes.
What's next after that?
What is next? I don't know. I just got my scholarships from all the schools I applied to, so I'm kind of just narrowing down.
Yeah.
You know I already want to go to SU.
I know you want to go to SU. That's the word around the block, yeah?
That's the dream school. And I just got what is the scholarship called? Like the fellowship scholarship or whatever.
Uh-huh.
It's the one right under presidentials. I was kind of ticked about that, honestly.
I got the trustees, which is the same type of thing. And it's because I was so dumb earlier in my high school career.
Freshman year screwed me over.
Exactly.
I don't know
Same
if I'm allowed
here.
to say that, but
No, you can say whatever the heck you want.
okay, sounds good.
It screwed me, dude, because I got very bad grades when I was a freshman and then decent grades when I was a sophomore. And now,
Moral of the story, if you're a freshman, care about your grades early.
get on it, kids.
Indeed.
There's no reason not to get one. I talked about it with my buddy Hayden last podcast. There's no reason not to get a 4.0.
Indeed.
It's
Just do
not
the work.
difficult. Just do the work. So you want to go to SU. Why is that?
I took a tour there like 3 years ago, I think. I think it was freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
And we just walked around the campus and I just absolutely fell in love with it. And I have some friends that go there and they were telling me all the stuff that goes on there. And I was just like, oh, SU is the place for me.
It's just the dream school.
I just feel like I'd fit right in. It'd just be perfect.
What are you going into when you go there?
So
Most likely.
right now, I've got sociology and psychology. They're like
Mm-hmm.
right there. I'm trying to decide which one.
Uh-huh.
But I've always been interested in that kind of stuff, so I really want to further my education there. So
What jobs come with that? Like, what careers are you looking at with those?
So with psychology, I'd probably end up being a counselor of some sort,
Yeah.
like either high school or I don't know. There's just a couple I was looking at, but sociology, there was a bunch of business opportunities, and I
Yeah.
think I'd be really good with like business and demographics and stuff.
That's interesting stuff.
Yes.
I like that stuff. That's what got me interested in that sort of thing, is because with the stuff I like to do, like podcasting, you're always looking at demographics and statistics. And so I'm trying to it's always intrigued me, like, why do people like certain things?
Exactly. Like that part, just like people's brains, like how they work and what attracts,
Exactly.
like what's attractive to them and what's not. That just totally blows my mind, like how we're all so different. And so I just want to learn more about that. And so.
Yeah, it's like every single thing that gets popular, like if a song pops off, I'm like, what is the reason for this? Like, why are so many people latching onto this song?
Yes, like it just, and the different groups of people that have like different interests, like the anime people.
Yeah,
Like I want to know what's going on inside their noggins.
exactly.
Like for real. It's just so interesting to me. So
That's like me with people who listen to country music. I'm like, what is it in their heads that makes them like that?
So you're very interested in Matthew Buller is what you're saying.
I'm interested in Matthew Buller for other reasons too, but
I mean, we all knew that.
because he's handsome. Am I right, Matt? But yeah, so we were in the same psychology class and sociology class. Spoiler. That's what the podcast is about today.
Yes, that was a fun class.
Was that what got you interested, or was it before that?
I think I've always just been interested in like how people work.
Yeah.
Like I even remember when I was like younger, I'd always, you know how little kids always ask their parents like, why?
Yeah.
Like, why won't you let me do this?
I still do that.
I was literally like, I'd always ask my mom, but why? Like I just keep going. And I think like that's when I first like got interested in like the why of things. That sounds so cheesy, but
No,
that is genuinely one of my interests. I want to know like why people act the way they do. A really big interest for me for a long time was like mental illness.
yeah,
And like eating disorders, like all those things, like the little segues. Like
Yeah.
there's just so many different ways that people identify themselves within mental illness. Like so many people now say, I have depression or whatever. What actually is that? Like, can you actually say that I'm depressed? You know, that's a touchy subject, but
Yeah.
for real, like it's just so interesting to me.
it's interesting. I've studied like for a while there. I was like into cult leaders for some reason. Cult leaders and like serial killers. I was just like, what?
I remember that phase.
It was crazy, bro. Because it started with Charles Manson. I started watching videos of him, and I was like, he's the most insane person I've ever seen. And then all of these people, all these girls, just followed him, and then killed people because he told them to.
What the
And I'm just like, what kind of like features does he exhibit that makes people, I don't know, that sways them
and
to
just
do
like,
that?
Like Ted Bundy, like
Yeah.
that whole thing, just
Yeah.
crazy to me. How one person can look so good on the outside and just like look like a normal human being, but in their brain it's a whole different situation. you know?
Yeah, it's very intriguing. And then it's just like I'm addicted to like power. I think I'm a little bit of a sociopath because I just like I like control and power, and so I'm looking at these people that are like cult leaders or like even, this is touchy, religious leaders, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you get that many people to follow you? Because I guess you could say this is sort of a cult, this podcast, because I want people to follow me. I want people to listen to what I do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've just always been fascinated with that kind of thing. And so that kind of brought me into this. How do people work? What is their
Yeah.
psychology?
And obviously, like, you're not going to fully understand ever, like, how
No.
people's brains work. But it's really interesting to kind of just look at different parts of it and things that you can control and can't control. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm a sociopath. Like, what can I control with outside
Yeah.
elements that can affect
That's-
inside?
I mean, we're all a little bit sociopathic. Let's be
I
real
mean,
here. We all
you're
want a little
not
bit
wrong.
of control, especially if you're studying psychology. I went in that class and I'm like, I'm going to figure out how to freaking control minds. And I did not learn how to do that. But
Yeah.
there was some interesting stuff in that class. What was the most interesting thing you've learned in your studies so far?
In my studies so far,
Yeah,
that's a good one to think about. Is that my phone?
I think it is. That's okay. Just kill it.
We killed it. It's
We're good.
fine. We're good. We're chill. But most interesting thing I think was the mental illness thing because we did those presentations. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And I did mine on OCD, and I've always thought that OCD was just like, you know, like keep things neat and tidy.
Yeah.
But there was one scenario that I read where this guy that had OCD would sit down at the dinner table and then he'd like have thoughts of killing his whole family right there with a butter knife.
That's what's interesting is when I went through my serial killer phase, like before that, I thought OCD was just you have to have your little
Yeah.
trucks in a line. And then I'm like, most of the people that are serial killers get diagnosed with OCD. Like,
Yeah. It's insane.
it freaks me out a little bit.
And there was one other thing that was like the serial killer guy or whatever. I'm really interested in true crime too. So this is like perfect. for
Go
me.
off.
Anyways, but there was this one guy who was just killing people because they weren't perfect, which that sounds so much to me like Hitler. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
And so like I think it'd be safe to say that a lot of serial killers do have like OCD and like mental illnesses and stuff like that. And so that just fascinates me completely. How
Yeah.
that could be the reason behind all this crazy stuff that they're doing. But
I just like, how do people get to a certain point? Like you look at Ted Bundy, or you look at like, I don't know, John Wayne Gacy or something, and you're like, how did you, like you were a baby at one point, you know?
yeah.
And you're like crawling around, and then now you've murdered like this many people,
Oh yeah,
and are
that's
just like insane.
insane. It's crazy to think about even like how okay, I think about this a lot, and it's probably not a good mindset, but people that we're going to school with now could potentially be murderers.
Most
or
likely, most of them will kill somebody.
psychopaths. But yeah, it's weird to think about how you go from one stage of life and you're completely normal, and then something happens within your mind or within your life that completely like changes 180.
Yeah.
And I think that's really just part of like the development process as humans. Like, I'm a big believer that a key event has to happen in your life for you to like realize like who you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Have you had that key event yet? Do you think?
I'd like to say I have for the most part, but I feel like there's still like more realizing for me to do. Like, I'm not completely Dallee.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. You got a couple years before that sets in.
Yeah.
But
I'm still a kid. I mean, I'd like to think I'm an adult, but I'm still a kid.
yeah, we're all just idiots.
Indeed.
We're all morons running around here. We don't know anything about psychology. We took half a semester class.
Yeah, we're just hicks over here in Enterprise. It's fine.
It's all cool. But what intrigues you about mental illness? Like, go into the specifics of that. Like,
just like I said, like the whole depression thing, like especially now, it's so normalized.
yeah,
And so everyone that's sad is like, oh, I must be depressed because it's so put out there in the media and it's represented in different ways. And that bugs me a lot, that as soon as someone's like sad or angry, you're like, oh, I have anger issues. Oh, I have depression. Oh, I have all these things. Or when someone just doesn't want to eat, you think, oh, I'm like anorexic. Or, yeah, you know what I mean?
anorexic. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. But you know what I mean? It's the media represents so many of these mental illnesses in weird ways that then it's normalized. And so people that have issues, they think that they automatically are defected by some of these illnesses or whatever, and that just makes me really angry.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like that's the realistics of it.
Yeah, it sucks because it feels like a lot of this, like having anxiety and depression, those two things combined, it's like a trend.
Yeah,
It's like I have
weird.
anxiety and depression.
And that bugs me so much because people that do actually suffer from those,
Yeah.
like, and I'm not perfect. I definitely have said that before, like, oh, I'm so anxious, like, oh, I
Yeah.
have so much anxiety.
Well,
but
you can be anxious and
Yeah.
have it, but you
Yeah.
don't have like the disorder of
exactly,
anxiety
it's
all the
not
time.
a long-term thing. Like,
Yeah.
it's definitely like a mood, not a mood, but like a, what is it called? Like just something
Like a
you
phase.
feel. Yeah, it's something you feel
Yeah.
sometimes, but the people that actually are diagnosed feel it all the time, and it's just weighing on them all the time. And so
Yeah.
I don't know why that bugs me so much, and I think that's what like spikes my interest in it, is that I just want to like advertise that it's not
Yeah.
as normal as people think. And if you do have like issues with that, you're not like just identified in that category, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think it's like a boy who cried wolf kind of situation, because it's
Yeah.
like if all of these people are saying that they're depressed and have anxiety, then the people that actually do aren't going to get
The help that they
the
need.
help or attention that
Yeah.
they should get. It's that kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's what makes me so mad. And so I think like if I were to go into mental illness like research and stuff, I'd really want to like put it out there, like the actual facts, like how many people actually do suffer and like what goes into diagnosing and you know all that kind of stuff. That stuff's really
Yeah.
interesting to me.
Do they have certain ways to diagnose that, like for sure? Or is it just based on like psychiatric examinations or something?
Basically, when they do diagnose, I think that the patient or whoever wants to be diagnosed has to say what they're feeling. So it's kind of based off what they report.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking that's why there's so many of these people that are like, oh, I'm like diagnosed or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's really touchy, but you know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's really just based off what the person says that they're going through. And I think especially now where we're getting into this generation where everyone thinks everything is so bad.
Yeah.
Like we just think in a very negative mindset all the time. And so, I don't know. That's just really, really interesting to me.
Yeah. Especially this year, man. If you ask if
yeah.
you give anybody a psychiatric test this year, everybody will be depressed. It's just very, I don't know. I don't know why it became a trend so much. Just it's probably started out as like just to be different or attention or something, and then everybody started doing it, and it was like, yeah, we're all depressed.
Yeah.
Which I think it's like one of the things I would like to promote if I ever have a platform someday is like it's okay to be sad, and like it's also okay. Like I might be treading into deep waters here, but like I have in my life thought about, not explicitly, but like ending my life. Like
I'm a believer that everyone has.
everybody
Yeah.
has. Like so okay, that makes me feel better. So it's like
No, you're definitely not alone there.
so it's like I want to promote that. Like most people probably have those thoughts, because I feel like when people feel that come to their mind, they're like, oh, that's not normal. I'm not normal.
Yeah,
And it just
exactly.
adds on to the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, you're not. You're not. Everybody goes through that.
Yeah, of course. It's just like what you were saying, like everyone has those thoughts. Like
Mm-hmm.
it happens all the time. It's just a normal thing. But it's broadcasted in a way that if you do have those thoughts, then you are suicidal.
Yeah.
Which very touchy again.
Yeah, it is very
But
touchy.
it's just, I am a firm believer that everyone does get sad sometimes. Everyone does have those thoughts sometimes. Everyone gets mad sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
It's just a human thing. So
Yeah.
once it gets to the point where it's represented in a way that it's so normalized that it just, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
I get
but
what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing for people that are like struggling with that or thinking that is to just have, I don't know, some sort of an anchor. You got to have something to
Yeah.
even keep you here.
Passion.
Passion,
Find your
bro.
passion.
That's something I preach heavily on this podcast.
Yes.
Passion. Find something you love, dude, because that will help you for the rest of your life.
I just like even looking up to you so much, like with this whole podcast thing, like you stick with it. You have a schedule, you know what you're doing, you know, you have goals, you're gonna hit
I
those
do.
goals. That like to me is so awesome.
Thank
and
you.
Just that you have a direction and know where you want to go, like that's your passion. That's
Yeah.
what keeps you here.
Mhm.
And I'm a firm believer that you have to do the work to find that thing.
You definitely do. And that's part of the reason that I'm having so many different people on the show, is to like help people potentially find their passions.
Yeah.
Like maybe they listen to this and are like, oh, this is interesting conversation. Maybe I'll look into psychology, and maybe that ends up being their
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
my part in the situation. But
Yeah, and just like again looking at you, like you went through every kind of sport there was.
yeah,
And you figured out that wasn't your thing. Like
Yeah.
you didn't enjoy that, and then you found this and you're in love with it, and
Yeah.
you're sticking with it, and it's your passion. So I really admire that a lot. So
yeah, that's the thing.
Good on
People,
ya.
thank you. I really appreciate that.
yeah.
People, especially in this town and small towns, are just like, it's either sports or like nothing, kind
yeah.
of.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, no, there's like a lot of different things. So if you're not into sports, you don't have to do them. Like
Yeah.
there's so many different things that you could spend your time doing that you'll like better.
One thing my mom brought up to me a couple years ago when we were talking about this whole sports thing, is she's like, people in Enterprise and small towns have names, like family names. And
Yeah.
if you have that name, you play a sport, no questions asked. And like the more I look at it, it's like, oh yeah.
It's kind of,
Of course.
true. But then there's the outliers that just work their butts off
Oh,
and
yeah.
do well. But that is definitely true. Like there are sports families in the town, and that's good for them. Good on
Honestly.
them, man.
Exactly. It just like for me being the first child and like not having a name that people really know, and like
Yeah.
not having parents that played sports, it was hard for me to thrive in sports. And so I was like, nah, that ain't my thing.
Yeah.
So then I became a cheerleader.
Cheerleader.
out of nowhere.
Cheerleading is sick, man. You're killing it out there.
Thank you. I
Every
enjoy
single
it.
day.
I enjoy it a lot, actually.
It's pretty epic. I think this is the best cheer team we've had in a while.
It's-
I heard
yeah.
somebody say that in the stands the other
Really?
day. Yeah.
Oh, that makes my heart happy.
Good.
I think a big factor of that is making sure all the girls are good mentally. Because
Yeah.
as captain this year, I was like, okay, I'm going to make sure people's situations are like good, because if they're not good in their head, they're not going to be good with the rest of the girls. And that's
Yeah.
just a fact.
Yeah.
Last year, our team kind of like fell apart. I think because there wasn't a lot of communication on what was going on in the girls' lives outside of cheer.
Yeah.
And I think that's important with any kind of team. To make it work, you got to know everything that's going on with that person. And that sounds so cheesy, but it's like in all reality, if you want something to work, you got to know every aspect.
Yeah, that's true. You gotta have those little gears in the machine. They all gotta be working together. And if
Yeah.
one's not working,
Yeah.
the rest aren't gonna turn. You
And
know.
again, that just goes right into psychology. Like
Back to the psychology.
I just love learning about people and like how they work, how they function, where they thrive, where they don't. And I think that's really helped me. Like my interest in that has helped me be a better captain and better teammate and stuff.
yeah.
So I don't know. I just love how possibly going into like psychology and sociology and stuff could help me be a better person, like not only in a career path, but as like a mom
Yeah.
or an employee, or you know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
I just want to understand how people work and like be able to tell like what's going on, you know, and
Yeah.
just so I can really connect with them and just have a good situation overall in anything. So
Yeah. I think it's very important to recognize that Like, there are going to be people in your life that you don't like or that bother you or that do, I don't know, that just piss you off.
Yeah.
But then you have to look at, you don't know anything about their life or their entire history. Like, nobody just comes into the world like a
Angry.
douchebag. Yeah.
No one comes into the world just, I don't know.
So there's factors that have happened in their life that have made them this way, and you gotta figure out how to sympathize with that.
Oh yeah, you have to learn how to deal with it correctly.
Yeah.
That's a big emphasis point, I think.
Yeah.
You got to know how to go around with like people like that. If you don't get along with someone, don't just get angry and cut them off.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, then you're not going to know how to approach that in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of problems arise.
Yeah.
This is a lot of my personal opinion. Don't
That's
take
what
this
we
as
need.
gospel.
That's what we need. We're just throwing opinions out there. We're just throwing viewpoints out there, seeing if they stick.
But absolutely, I think learning how to deal with certain situations and certain people early on, that's huge for me. Like childhood education, that's another thing. That's another thing I'm very interested in.
Childhood education.
Yes, like introducing subjects early that will help people develop better. You know what I mean?
Like, give an example.
Like, again, like with punishments and stuff, like when people get angry, when kids get angry in class, instead of like punishing and stuff, like use it as an example to like teach. I think that there are few teachers that actually do that, and I think that'd be like a great emphasis point to like better the future. I don't know, that sounds so weird, but
it's interesting.
I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like certain little things like that could totally change everything, like future generation wise. But by the way, did you know they changed the ABC song?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Don't even get me started.
That's stupid. The best part of that song is the Emanello.
Exactly. Elemental.
LMNOP. That's the worst.
And then they just slowed that all down. It's like the freaking remix.
We gotta stop changing all this stuff.
Indeed.
Why do we gotta change everything, man? We were doing fine before.
Oh.
As soon as they changed the alphabet, that's when coronavirus came. That's when the race riots started.
Oh, yeah. It's just, I don't know, this whole COVID-19 thing, I honestly think it's been good and bad both ways.
Like what? Spit your truth on COVID-19.
Quarantine-wise, I've heard a lot of people hated it. Like, they just were so, like, depressed or whatever.
Yeah.
Again, depressed.
Yeah.
But I honestly thrived. Like, I had a routine. I got up every morning. I worked out. I did all my stuff, cleaned my room. You know, I was going. I had this routine. I was perfect. Like, I felt like I was really developing, like, spiritually, emotionally, physically. You know, I was thriving in a word.
That's good.
But then I'd like talk to other people and they'd be like, oh, I hate it. I hate not being around other people. And then that like negative perspective kind of like got on me. And then I started thinking that way. I just remember one night I was like, what happened? Like 2 weeks ago, I was fine being by myself. And now I'm like crying on my bed because I'm not with my friends.
Yeah.
But it's just, again, it's just crazy how other people, like their minds can like thrive in one situation and not. And it just depends on like surroundings and what you surround yourself with. So
your mindset,
exactly,
your media intake,
100%,
everything. Like when I'm listening to Kanye, I feel on top of the world versus if I listen to Frank Ocean, I want to die. Like it's very interesting.
Yes, everything you intake. So there's this girl I watch on YouTube. Her name's Sadie Aldi's. I don't know if you probably don't know who she is, but she is a very like big advocate of the law of attraction and like what you think is what you'll attract. So if you think positively, then you'll attract positive things. If you think negatively, you'll attract negative things, you know? Just in that mindset. And so I think that that's kind of translated into my life. And so now a lot of people make fun of me for it, but when I get stressed, I delete all social media because
I've done that multiple times, yeah.
And I do it all the time, and then I re-download it, and people are like, I thought you were getting rid of it, blah, 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 blah. But it's just whatever I'm thinking in my mind, I have to do whatever it takes to be in a good mindset and be able to be successful, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially in school and where things get so like stressful as a cheerleader and like college student / high school student, things do get stressful and you just got to make the best of your environment. And I think that's definitely a part of it is your intake and everything, like social media, music, home life even. That's a big, big, big thing. But yeah.
The social media thing, dude. People that are like, oh, I thought you were going to get rid of social media.
Yeah,
Why are you back on it?
Ooh.
Those people are just...
pushes my buttons.
They are the weakest people because they want to get rid of social media and they are so glad that you caved and got it back.
Yeah.
So they're just like, oh, why'd you get social media back? I thought you were off it. Oh, you couldn't last. It's like, shut up, dude.
Exactly.
I was taking a break.
Literally, I wasn't deleting it forever. I was just taking a break for what I needed.
Sometimes you just got to take a freaking break, dude.
Honestly, it just, for real. Even if it's for a couple hours. Like, there's been days where I just delete it while I'm, like, need to get stuff done. And then I'm like, dude, I'm good now. I can get it back. Like, I'll be fine. But yeah, that really pushes my buttons is when people do that.
Yeah. 3 out of my 4 friends are off social media right now. We started a little thing. The only one that's still on it is freaking Brecken, dude, and I'm gonna fight him, dude. He's the most annoying. Ever since, me and Matt got rid of it. Matt got rid of it first after watching The Social Dilemma. I don't know if you saw that or listened to the podcast or anything.
Oh wait.
It was like about the social media people and like how they just use your information, all this stuff.
I actually think I watched part of that.
Yeah. So Matt got rid of it, and then I can't remember what prompted me to get rid of it. I was just like, I don't need this anymore. Like, the only reason I had it was to promote the podcast. So I was like, I don't need this.
Yeah.
And I get it back occasionally for podcast stuff, like to post about it, or like if I'm texting somebody about podcast stuff. Anyways, then the other day, Tyler just randomly got rid of it. And so but Breck still won't. And I don't understand why.
I feel like a big thing for me, like getting rid of it, is whenever I get off of it, I miss so much. Like many things happen.
Every time, dude. Me and Matt have missed so much stuff, and every time we are like, "Oh, what? I didn't know about that."
So
Breck's
many
like,
people
social
get
media,
married.
social media.
Like, what is that? So
Getting
many people
married?
get married and engaged while I don't have it, and I'm like, okay, cool.
It's strange
Bye.
that it's become such a big part of our lives.
Yeah.
It really upsets me.
Yeah, and I like honestly, if we're being very brutally honest, like I don't know how, this sounds so weird and so millennial, but I don't know how people survived without it, like knowing things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like even my grandparents, how did they communicate and like know things so fast, you know what I mean?
Definitely. Because if I don't know something, I text Matt, and I'm like, dude, what is the deal with this? And he can immediately respond. But back in the day, it's like,
Letter?
You can know to 3 to 4 business days.
Exactly.
It's
Freaking
very
Pony
interesting.
Express.
Pony Express. You got to send in a Pony Express to your homie
Yeah.
to know what the questions were for math that day.
Absolutely.
It's interesting stuff. I think what do you think about social media and its impact on mental health and that sort of thing?
I think it definitely plays a huge role. Like, okay, this is something I've been very interested in past couple months, but like body image
Yeah.
for both boys and girls. I think boys aren't stressed enough, but it's just so broadcasted that you have to be like perfect, and then it's also broadcasted that you don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
So it's like this weird little
very interesting.
middle ground where it's like, should I accept myself or should I push for my goals? You know what I mean? And so it's just, I don't know, that way it can be very confusing and very pressuring on a lot of individuals. I know for me, little 8th grade Dallee, it was very pressuring to be perfect and eat right and exercise all the time. You know what I mean? And I guess that kind of developed habits that I still do now. And that kind of, I don't know, it's just weird. But I definitely do think it takes a toll on how we think and just the way we do things and the things we talk about a lot. Like, you know what I mean? That's where we get most of our intake from the world. Like we have our little small community, and we talk about things that go on here all the time, but things that happen in the world, we get that specifically from social media. And like that's basically our only intake of what's happening out there. Yeah. So whatever we see on social media, however it's represented, that's what we're going to think, and that's what we're going to talk about in that mindset. So I think, I don't know, it's just very, very interesting to me.
Yeah, it influences a lot of relationships and that sort of thing. It's just crazy.
1,000%.
It's ridiculous, bro.
Yeah.
You can have a girlfriend like freaking across the world.
I do not do long distance.
I could have an Asian girlfriend
that we don't even know about.
that you don't even know about.
He has an Asian girlfriend, guys.
She wears a schoolgirl uniform. She goes to a Catholic school in Asia. She's beautiful.
Now
Her name is Knives. I'm not gonna do.
What?
That was from Scott. I ripped that from Scott Pilgrim.
Knives?
We're good.
Oh my Lanta. Okay.
What advice would you give to like a girl that's struggling with body image stuff? Because I think that's a very important topic just for life. Like, what would you say to somebody that is struggling either way with body image?
I think it's important to remember that everyone struggles with it, and it's not just you thinking that you're not perfect. I think that everyone thinks that they're not perfect, and that's just part of being human. But another big point is if you want to be better, work to be better. Like, don't just say, like, I want to have abs, I want to be skinnier. Don't just say that. If you really want it, you're going to work for it. And so I really do think that's where a lot of this sadness and disappointment comes from on the internet, like all this like fails compared to the successes that you see, you know? But people really just got to work for it if they really want it. Don't just complain and then not do anything. So, yeah.
Yeah.
We're back.
We're back. So we're back.
Yes.
The camera shut off. You said something very important, is that you want to make sure people know that they're not alone.
Absolutely.
And I think that's important in most things, because as I've like grown up and talked to more people and more people have opened up to me, I realized that the things I was struggling with or dealing with, everybody else is too.
Absolutely.
So it just makes it feel like that's all right. Like maybe what I'm thinking isn't actually true or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like everyone has insecurities without a doubt. Like you can look at someone has the perfect body and they're still going to be working out. They're still going to be doing all these things because they have these insecurities.
What is talking? Who is speaking? What has a low battery? Just keep going. I don't know what the heck that was, actually.
That kind of really scared me.
That's terrifying.
Oh my gosh.
There's a ghost in the studio, everybody.
Do you think they heard it on there?
I guarantee you they did.
If you hear that, please comment.
Just ignore it.
Oh my land.
Just keep listening. Just ignore it.
Okay.
So
But
yeah.
Everyone has insecurities. And I think you really could look at any body type and say that this person is confident and this person does have insecurities. I think there's both of that in everyone. So
Yeah.
I
The body image thing is very, I don't know.
it's very interesting
I'm
to me.
split on it, because it's like, it's important to take care of your body.
Like, yeah, there's a very fine line between like accept yourself and work to get better, because where you are is not healthy mentally or physically. You know what I mean?
I feel like no matter where, you should never be content with where you are.
Oh, absolutely.
Either
if
physically
you're
or
content,
mentally.
then there's something wrong.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you have to be comfortable with where you're at, but you want to strive to get better, because you can always be better.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you should be ashamed of where you are right now. Does that make sense at all?
That's just, okay, so kind of going into religion, this is going to be really weird, but
That's okay.
like spiritual-wise speaking, I'm a very big, like, I love religion. I love it, absolutely. But I think it's a big part of it is knowing where you're at and knowing that you want to go forward. Like, not being content where you are, but being okay with where you are and knowing that you're going to work to get better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge thing for life in itself. Like, you have to be okay with the now to be okay with, like, the future. You know what I mean? I don't know. But
yeah, because I think I talked about this on the podcast before, if you're not comfortable with who you are right now, even if you reach these goals that you have in your mind, you're still not going to be comfortable. And I've experienced that firsthand. Like when I was a chunky boy, when I was a chubby boy back in the day, weighing like 200 pounds, I was like, yeah, I'm not happy with myself right now, but when I lose all this weight and look good, I'll be happy. And then I lost all that weight and looked good, and then I still wasn't. I was still like, oh, why am I still sad?
The big part with like body image is you have to fix yourself mentally before you fix yourself physically. And again, like I did the same thing. Like I was a little bit bigger and it was not good. I was not good mentally, and I just felt so bad about myself all the time, was not confident, did not want to go anywhere, did not want to do anything because I was so insecure or whatever, just like every other teenage girl.
Yeah.
But there was one day I just sat down and realized, what am I doing with my life? I can literally like change everything, and everything can be better. Like everything can be good. And then I started like losing this weight and eating good and exercising all the time. And it was just like nothing fixed in my brain.
Yeah.
I just like all this happened, and I get like I looked good, I felt good, but my brain was still like, you aren't good enough.
Yeah.
And so I just had to keep going and going and going. And then I eventually reached a plateau and where my mind was just awful.
Yeah.
But I think now realizing that everyone does have insecurities and like everyone does have to move forward and keep working for something, I know that that's okay. And I need to learn how to be okay with myself now, to be happy now, and also work to be happy in the future as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That just got really deep for a second.
That's good. We need deep conversations. That's another thing with like psychology. What is that in your head that's like, you're like, no matter what, you're never good enough? Does that ever go away? Because I'm still dealing with that.
Yeah, it just.
Is it always
so
there?
Am I. Yeah, it just. I think, honestly, in my personal opinion, I don't think it will ever go away.
Yeah.
And I think it's part of just developing, and that's the drive and the push to like do things.
Yeah, you need it.
You absolutely 100%. I don't think anyone has ever succeeded in life without thinking that they weren't good enough first. Quote me on that.
Quote her, dude. Judas.
Spitting fire.
Goodness.
But I really honestly do not think that anyone has ever succeeded without that.
Yeah.
Because if you sit there and you're like, I'm good, I'm perfect, everything in my life is going great, I don't need anything else. Like,
Yeah.
what are you going to do with your life?
Those people are lying to themselves.
Honestly, like, what are you going to do? Sit there and eat chips on your couch?
Yeah.
No. Go
Yeah.
out there and do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's very intriguing.
So I think as much as it sucks to feel like you're not good enough, I think it's a really big part of life and you need it. So.
Yeah. I guess you just got to figure out how to channel that into being productive.
Yeah, it's a very big choice. You can either choose to use it or lose it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That is cool. That is cool, dude. Figure out how to channel, because I know everybody listening to this is dealing. They're like, oh, I'm not skinny enough. I'm not good enough in this field. Like every single day, I feel bad about myself because this podcast isn't succeeding like I want it to. And it's like I'm 17 years old, but I still am like, why am I not popping off?
You have to think of like your little successes too. Like,
Yeah.
think of it. You have all this equipment that
Yeah.
you bought yourself
Let's
because
go.
you worked hard.
Let's go.
You have how many viewers? Like a solid 200 viewers
Per podcast.
per podcast.
Let's get it.
I would only have 2.
No, you're about to have a lot right now.
No, but it's just like that to me, like your little successes are huge to me because I'm not into this stuff. And so I think because you have other people that you look up to, like I
Yeah.
look up to you, you compare yourself to them.
That is
And
interesting.
so it's just like, again, the whole psychology thing. There's so many segues,
There's so many in this podcast.
but it's I don't know. It all just comes back to that, knowing the why and why people do the things they do and why you do the things you do. I just absolutely in love with it.
It's very, very cool stuff.
Indeed.
What is it? A lot of people say that comparing yourself to other people isn't good, but I disagree with that.
Yeah, there's definitely a good and bad side to it. I
Yeah.
think. If you compare yourself in a positive light, I guess it's like, okay, this is really, really hard to explain. But if you compare yourself in a way where you're not degrading yourself and
Yeah.
you're not like just hating on yourself all the
Mhm.
time, then you can find motivation to like better yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And you can find ways to improve your life. And I think that's a lot of influencers, that's what they're there for, is to like project this life to encourage people to live a certain way, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just comparing yourself to people, it's okay and it's not bad and you shouldn't not do it, but you just have to do it in a way where you're not completely destroying yourself in the process.
Again, you got to channel that
Yeah,
energy.
there's-
You got to use it as a
make a
goal
choice.
instead of like, I'm not as good as this person and I'll never be as good as this person. Say, I'm not as good as this person, but one day I will be.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part of succeeding and stuff. Like with your podcast right now, you can't look at someone like
Joe Rogan.
that's who you're thinking of right now?
Yep.
Okay, you can't look at someone like Joe Rogan and think, oh, he's so awesome. I'm a 17-year-old kid that can't do anything with my podcast now. You got to think, oh, I am going to be Joe Rogan.
Yes.
I'm absolutely going to
Let's
become
go.
him. That's the channel that you have to use everything as motivation, I think. Like again, law of attraction. Like you think positive, you get things positive. You think negative, negative. It's just that's how it works.
Yeah. Is that like karma? Is that kind of the same thing?
I think so. I think karma goes hand in hand with it. But yeah. That girl I was talking about, Sadie Aldi's, I
Yeah.
just love her. Love her.
What does she do?
She is like, if I had to pick a role model like online, it would be her because she's just very organized. Like she encourages people to be organized, and she also shows like herself like not being so organized and like showing
Yeah.
how she gets out of that hole. And so I think that that's a very important part on like online and social media and stuff, is people showing the not perfect parts,
Exactly. That's
but how
key.
they get to the perfect parts. And that's why I love watching her and just her whole law of attraction thing. Like that's how I strive to live, you know? But yeah,
Yeah.
she's just very cool. So check her out. She's pretty epic.
Check her out, guys.
Yes.
There should be a law requiring influencers, after they've posted like a picture on Instagram, they should also have to post like a 3 to 4 hour long video of them getting their makeup all ready, and then also all the Photoshop and editing that goes into it,
Yeah.
along with the picture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because there's so many behind the scenes things,
Yeah.
like especially like YouTube, social media, like all crazy. It's crazy how much goes on behind the scenes and what else goes into it, and it's not just what you see for the 10 seconds or 0.1 second you look at it on Instagram.
Yep.
So I don't know. You just got to think about it in that way. Like what I'm seeing is not actually what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What do you think is like the most appropriate age to give? Like if you were to give your kids social media, because I've been thinking about this. I don't plan on having kids. I didn't get a girl pregnant, but I thinking about like if I did have kids, what age would I give them social media? Because for me, it's like I don't know if I'd ever give it to them.
I think it depends on the kid, honestly. Like how you raise them. That's kind of weird, but if you try to understand what I'm saying here. So, say this person like has an oops baby, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And they start raising this child like in a certain way to where they are not very mature, like not really responsible and stuff. And then they give them social media at, let's say, 10. Like that seems like where it's going right now.
Yeah.
But give them a phone and social media at 10. I think that's a very, very immature age for that specific case. But say that there's another child that has had that they're raised well, like they know their responsibilities, you know what I mean? Like they're just raised in a completely different light, and they're also given social media and a phone at 10. Like they could also like utilize that in a way where they're being responsible, you know what I mean? And it kind of just depends how they're raised. And so I think it differentiates for each situation. But
yeah.
It's kind of interesting to think about.
What would you say to like, I don't know, like when you were stressed out and you wanted to get rid of social media, what would you say to somebody that was struggling with that same thing? What advice would you give them? This is an advice column now.
I think I would say like know your limits and like know your breaking point to when it gets like overwhelming before you get to that. Get rid of it. Like you don't want to be in that crazed like you know what I'm talking about where you just feel so unorganized that you just ugh.
Yeah,
that's the feeling. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
But you need to know before you get to that to get rid of the negative things in life that are taking you to that point, I think. And that's just a big part of knowing yourself. And I don't think people focus on that as much as they should, is knowing themselves. And that's a whole nother thing I could get into.
Get into it. We got time.
I think one thing that bugs me so much about that is like high school relationships.
Yeah.
Okay, I could go really into this, and I'm going to. But I think that people don't even know themselves enough to be able to get into a successful and beneficial relationship.
Yeah.
Especially at this age. And I'm not perfect. I have been in relationships.
Quote unquote.
Before.
Yeah.
And I definitely did not know myself, and I could feel myself changing for the other person, and I could feel myself like getting into different things that they were getting into just so we would be like solid, you know what I mean? That is not good.
No.
Not good at all. And so I think definitely like now senior year is where I'm kind of like realizing, okay, this is who Dallee Cobb is. This is the kind of people that Dallee Cobb likes. And so actually like recently I've decided that I'm going to look at people with a very, very critical eye. That sounds awful.
Oh, Judas. I feel pressure now.
That sounds awful, but like especially when it comes to dating and like being around certain people, I need to learn now what kind of people I like to be around and what kind of people I am myself around, you know? And I want to learn that early on, so like later when I'm going into a career path and like knowing which kind of people I can work with well and stuff, I can like know, okay, in the past, like I haven't done well with people that do this, like, you know what I mean? And so it just kind of sets me up for success. But
yeah,
that sounds awful. I promise I'm not that critical. Like I'm not gonna, but like dating, I feel like that is a huge thing, is like looking at it with a critical eye. Like when I come home to my mom and she says, how did it go? I'm not going to say good every time. Yeah. I'm going to be very brutally honest.
Good.
And I have been the past couple weeks, and I think that I really have started to discover like what I like and what I don't like and what kind of people I like to be around. But yeah, I think a big piece of advice for people struggling with like dating and feeling like you have to be in a relationship is don't until you're ready. Don't be forced into it. One thing me and my mom do talk about a lot, April Cobb, she is my therapist.
April.
I'll tell you what, I've learned everything I know from her, but we talk about all the time how you have to know yourself before you get into a relationship with another person, whether it be a romantic relationship, whether it be a business relationship, whether it be, you know what I mean, any kind of relationship. Honestly, if you want it to be successful, you have to know yourself and what kind of decisions you like to make, what kind of people you like to be around, what kind of environment you thrive in. You have to know those things. And if you don't, then it's just not going to work. You're going to be swayed by everything the other person does. And I don't know. I could go off on this for hours.
That's good. I think, yeah, with dating in high school, there's really no need to ever get into a relationship. And it is difficult because innate human behavior is like when you find a person of, I'm not going to say the opposite sex, whatever sex you're attracted to. We're really we're welcoming on Broc, Gardner versus the world, man.
Welcome.
We're very progressive on this show. So whoever you're attracted to, innate human behavior is like, I'm attracted to that person and I don't want anybody else to ever look at that person ever again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's very difficult to stay out of that headspace. So it's like, yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah, it's very, I don't know, there's a very fine line.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because you can't help yourself when you like find somebody you like. You can't help your feelings for them. It's not.
Yeah, you feel your feelings.
Feel your feelings.
Feel them, but just don't act on them until you're sure.
And I can't give advice on this, dude, because I don't know the answers.
I mean, I'm only 17, so do what you want. But
yeah.
From my personal experience and acting both ways, knowing who I am and knowing not who I am, knowing who I am is working better for me.
Yeah.
And it's making me happier, and like I'm not getting into situations where I feel pressured to do certain things, where I am doing things that I don't want to do. You know what I mean? I do have a strong like moral standard, and knowing myself now and like knowing the people I hang around with, that is going to stay. I'm going to stay where I am now, and that's very comforting and makes me happy. So
how do you find yourself? How does one find themselves in high school?
Oh, buddy.
Let's hear it.
Obviously, like I've said before, like I'd like to think I'm an adult and that I'm completely developed, but I'm not.
No, nobody is.
But for the point that I'm at right now, I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot where I am like pretty okay with where I'm at. But my biggest piece of advice would be try everything. Like, don't limit yourself to one pathway. You know what I mean? Heck, like my career path, so many times it has changed.
Anesthesiologist.
Those were the good old days.
I remember that.
They make lots of money, I'll tell you that. Good on you if you are one. But yeah, I've tried so many different directions and tried hanging out with so many different friend groups. I've called myself a bobber before because I just like bob to different people's friend groups.
Yeah.
And like trying sports and stuff. Like I haven't limited myself, and I think that's why I'm so good right now. Is because I've just tried everything. I'm kind of satisfied with everything I've tried in high school.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of chilling. Like this is me right now.
Yeah. Utilize your time in high school for sure, 100%, because this is the time where you're not tied down to anything. You're not tied down to a job or a family, so you can just do whatever you want and then figure out what you like to do.
Yeah. And like even just looking back on all 4 of my years, freshman year, I was playing every single sport.
Yeah.
My goal was to not work in high school and to just have fun. I didn't care one freaking bit about my grades. Regret that so much now.
Yep.
But that was freshman year. Sophomore year came around. Boys. I was obsessed, and I started quitting sports. I only played volleyball, I think. And grades, I started focusing more, and I actually looked into getting a job and stuff. And that summer, I did actually get a job. And then junior year, like, I got a job. I was very focused on like myself and like personal development and staying physically healthy, mentally healthy. I became a cheerleader. out of nowhere.
Yeah, that was very random.
Literally out of nowhere, I showed up to freaking tryouts, and everyone was like, "What the heck are you doing here?" Anyways, but yeah, I became a cheerleader and started taking college classes. Like, everything just changed so much. And now this year, like, I have a job, and I'm going to my job as much as I can, making money, you know, college classes as much as I can. I think every single class I'm taking is a college class.
Yeah.
I am a cheerleader again, and I have a pathway and scholarships I'm applying to, and it's just crazy to look back and see like each year in itself, and I was genuinely a different person each year.
Yeah, same here.
And I think that's how it's supposed to be. Like, you aren't supposed to just stick with what you're doing one year. You know what? That sounds so awful, but in certain aspects, yes, you should, but in other aspects, like, no, like, get out there, try new things.
Well, I mean, if it's working, why change it? But then
yeah, absolutely.
if you're not involved, if you're involved with sports and you don't like it, and if there's like a math camp and you're like, I don't like math. Why would I go to math camp? Go to math camp.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll fall in love with it.
Yeah, exactly. I would have never thought in a million years that I would have been a cheerleader.
Yeah.
I never, ever, ever. I still remember riding with my mom to Verla's one morning, and she was like, "So what are you going to do next year?" And I was like, "Well, what do you think about me being a cheerleader?" And she was like laughing, like genuinely laughing. And I was like, "Mom, I want to be a cheerleader."
Yeah.
And so I showed up to tryouts, and lo and behold, I am cheer captain this year. So it's lovely.
Doing great.
I'm trying my best.
Doing great things.
But yeah, it's just, this year's been crazy, and I definitely feel like I've developed to the point that I need to be at, and it's not over yet. Things could happen. Me and Morgan say all the time that both of us could be in a relationship by the end of the year. So
It's possible.
You know, we're chilling, we're vibing.
You know,
but I'm good right now, I think. So
that's good.
Yeah.
People stress about high school too much. It's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Honestly, you just chill. You vibe. Do the whole thing.
Exactly.
You just do your own thing. Don't focus on what other people are doing or what they think about you. People say that all the time, like, don't care what people think. And I don't think I ever took it, like, seriously until this year. Like, being a senior, being the oldest, I'm just like, freaking little kids. I don't care what you think.
It's easy to do it then.
Yeah.
I was lucky to have, I don't know where I even learned it. Probably just, I really think it was from, like, Tyler, the Creator. Do you know who that is?
Yeah. Well, I've heard of him.
He's just like this rapper guy, but I found him in like, I don't know, November of 2017, like right after one of his albums came out. And I just like I fell in love with his music. And then there's like so many videos of him on YouTube and stuff and interviews. And so I watch those religiously all the time. And just, he's one of the few people that like just literally doesn't care. And just does whatever he wants, and it's not like a bad thing. Like, a lot of the time, doing whatever you want it's not necessarily kosher. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's not in a bad way. It's just like he's making the kind of stuff he wants. He's wearing whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And so that really influenced me, and I was like, why does anybody care? Like, I'm gonna be like Tyler, the Creator, dude. I'm just gonna do whatever I want. And not care about people. So I was very lucky to learn that early, but a lot of people don't understand. Most people, you got to stop respecting, this sounds very bad, you have to stop respecting other people's opinions entirely.
Yes. You have to, like, select a few that you're like, okay, this is, like, a person I look up to, that I care, like, what they think about me, to keep you, like, going on the right path and like, keep you motivated and in the right direction. But the people that are affecting you negatively, you've got to think like, oh, I don't care. Like, you have to completely like push their perspective of you out of your mind. Because if you think on everyone's perspective of you, you're going to get so like down on yourself. Yeah. It's insane. So you just got to pick and choose the right ones to keep you in the best mindset, I think. So. Yeah,
it doesn't even have to be like people that are negatively affecting you. Because like I don't know how other people's brains work, but with my brain, it's like if that person exists, they're judging me. For some reason, so I just have to block everything out. Yeah, there's nobody that like can sway my opinion anymore or anything like that.
Yeah, and that's good. Like, that works for you.
Yeah,
you're chilling.
It's going so good right now.
Yes, I love it. And like for me, like my mind, again, like people's minds are so different, and that's what fascinates me. But with my mind, I have to like my mom, I care about what she thinks about me. Like my grandma, I care what she thinks about me. Like those people that are close to me, I care how they like see me and my success and my failures or whatever. But then people that I don't even know and I'm not close to, I'm like, okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even bug me anymore. And I know that like people on the internet and stuff are very, very touchy, like when it comes to other people's opinions of them. And that I think I'm very, very fortunate to be this way where I just don't care. You know what I mean? In a certain way.
Yeah. What is like, again with the psychology, we're gonna hit it one more time.
Oh,
What makes us like care about other people's opinions, even if they're like not a big part of our lives? Because there's like a bunch of people that I rarely talk to, but I'm like, I wonder what they think about me.
I think like it comes a lot from like what you think about yourself, like personally. So if you're like, again with like the body image thing, if you're already down on like your insecurities, like, and then someone says something about it, then you're like, oh, like they noticed it too. Like I gotta care, because obviously if they're thinking it and I'm thinking it, then it's, you know what I mean?
Then it's true.
And so that's how I think. Like if I'm already thinking negatively about a perspective of my life and then someone talks about it, then I'm like, oh shoot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part of it, but I could be wrong. That's just how I view it. And I don't know. There's a lot of interesting things that I think about in that way.
Yeah. Just stop
everyone
caring.
probably thinks I'm a psycho now. They're probably like, she's thinking about all this stuff.
If they've listened to this podcast, they know that I am a psychopath. Like they do not. You haven't said anything controversial so far compared to the past episodes. If you have been a long time listener, you know what I'm talking about.
My goal today was to not talk about politics, so we're doing great.
I don't think I've gone through one episode without saying something about politics. So we're swimming right now, dude. We just got to go like 5 more minutes without talking about.
We can do it.
The T word. What?
Oh, we got it.
What are you like? What are you thinking about? Because senior year, you know, we had senior night football. Senior night volleyball is tomorrow. Like, what are your thoughts just in general about life right now?
Right now, my biggest concern, I guess, would be is like letting go of these people and finding new people.
That's a tough thing to grasp.
Yes, just like with Morgan, especially. If you know me, you know Morgan.
Yeah,
we're like peas in a pod. But it took me so long to find someone like her where we just like click and like we read each other's minds almost and all the time. And knowing that she's probably going to Dixie, I'm going to SUU, like I'm not going to have that. And trying to find that again, like that stresses me out so much. But at the end of the day, I just got to realize like in a year, again, I'm going to be a new person. Like I'm not going to be the Dallee Cobb now. So I feel like, I don't know, I'm just very nervous for that. Like, but I'm also excited to be on my own. I'm so independent. It's crazy. I love doing my own thing. Like even if you walk into my house and you see the rest of my house, you're like, oh, this family's pretty put together, you know, blah, 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 blah. Then you go to my room and it's like another human being. Yeah. It's just, I am so different and I love to be different and I love to be independent that I just cannot wait till I'm on my own and I'm like, I can decorate my house the way I want to. Like just little things like that gets me so excited.
My friend Miles, I had him on the podcast 2 times ago, and one of the things he said when I asked him about college life is he's like, he loves it because his mindset is if he doesn't eat, he's going to die.
I literally listened to that and I was
so
like,
funny.
Yes.
It made me laugh so hard because it's just like, it's interesting because right now you're not really thinking about that. Yeah. But in a couple months, we're going to have to think about that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I love that. Like I'm so excited. People probably think I'm nuts, but I'm so ready to like struggle on my own.
I'm so excited for that.
I'm genuinely so ready to just like create my own me, like my own life and not be a dependent on my parents or my teachers who grade me or you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm just so excited to do my thing and not like be swayed by anyone else. But I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking right now. I'm so ready to decorate my own house.
That's gonna be exciting for you. I am excited. I think if you go into the mindset of you know that life is gonna like this is people get upset when I say stuff like this, but life sucks. Like it just does. But depending on your outlook on things, there's like like life just is terrible all the time, and then there's like little pockets of just sunshine, and that's just how everybody is.
You got to take advantage of the sunshine pockets.
Exactly. And then just, I don't know, just have a good mindset. So when you're anticipating that and you understand life isn't just amazing all the time, it'll probably make things easier.
Law of attraction. I'm telling you.
Law of attraction. I'm going to study that.
Please do, because I think it's so interesting and fascinating. And like, again, just success comes from like your perspective and your view of things. Like, you create your own success. That's something you would see on a freaking calendar.
You create your own success.
A calendar in Target. But yes, that's exactly, like, that's how I'm thinking right. Back again.
Okay, we're back. I don't know where we left off, so just re-explain it in 10-year-old terms.
Law of attraction. Going into a job interview. You think that it's going to go bad. It's going to go bad. It's because you're already in that mindset, you know? Like, it's already going to go bad in your brain, like envisioning it, so it's going to go bad. But if you think it's going to go good and you have the confidence that it's going to go good, it's going to go good. Like, you're going to identify it as good no matter what.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that is just a big perspective thing, and I love that. Like, think good, get good. That's just what I'm living by right now.
That's fantastic. I'm really glad.
Yeah. My mom also just brought up a point the other day, like, no expectations. That's what you got to live by. If you have expectations, you're going to be disappointed all the time.
Yeah.
No expectations.
I feel that.
Yes.
I usually just go in expecting the worst scenario. So then if it's like even decent, it's like, that was awesome. That was fantastic.
Yes.
I'm really glad that happened.
That is my dating life right there.
Let's go.
But yeah, just no expectations. You got to just live. Take advantage of the now. That sounds so cheesy.
Take advantage of the now, man. Take advantage of the now.
Quote me on
live
that.
your life. You're going to have so many quotes. They're just going to be motivational posters. You're going to walk into some classroom and it's going to be you.
I just want to write a book. That's all. I just want to.
About sociology?
Just everything that goes on in my mind. I should just journal for like a year when I get older and just publish it, because I could go off.
I think that's I don't know. I think that's how you're going to make the most money. And you're like, you got to figure out something to do with sociology or psychology and then write something about that.
I'm very curious what you think I will do, what I will end up doing.
I told you you're going to write a book and you're going to come back on the podcast and promote it.
Yes, but I don't know. Just where I'm at right now, that's my direction, and that's where life's kind of going right now. And I think I'm in a very good spot as of now.
That's good.
So, yeah.
I hope all my listeners get to that spot.
Yes, the spot is great. Work for the spot.
The spot is fantastic, man.
Work for the spot.
The advice that I would give to you, don't care what people think. Have goals. Strive to achieve them. Find a passion. Find a beautiful girl and make cookies on a Sunday.
Get a cute dog.
Get a trustworthy dog.
Yes.
Named Scout or something else that's kind of tough but also cute.
Blackie.
I
had a dog named Blackie.
Don't name it Cookie, because I'll end your life. Because, dude, I'm going to get a golden retriever and name it Cookie.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and then people are going to be like, what's your dog's name? And I'm going to be like, it's Cookie. And they'll just look at me and I'll be like, yeah. What do you want?
Karen.
Come at me. I know it's not black and white. I still named it that.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
But, yeah, takeaway. Like, law of attraction. Study it. Think of it. Find your good, like, mind space. Like, find a safe space where you can just think about your goals and think about the people that you thrive around. Again, just, like, know yourself. Try and find yourself. And before you get into any serious relationships or serious situations, find yourself first. That's it.
It's like that Vine where the guy is naked, the homeless guy on the street, and he has the sign, love yourself.
Oh, with the chicken?
Yeah.
Does he have a chicken?
Yeah, he has
Or am
a
I
chicken.
just imagining
I think there might be a chicken involved in that situation. But yeah, it's like that guy. Just love yourself, accept yourself. You know the vibes.
Yes.
Study the military-industrial complex.
Love yourself, accept yourself, but push yourself. I'm telling you.
That's a good one.
Yes.
There's another quote. Dal, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yes, this is fun.
That was great.
Hope it went good.
It went really well. That was probably one of the. I have this feeling every time I get done with the podcast, I can gauge it. This was a good one.
A good one.
I can already tell. So thank you for coming on.
First female podcast.
Female podcast. Ooh.
Woo!
Let's go.
Yes.
Thanks for listening, guys. I love you all.
Bye.
Share the podcast, please, because I just want to do this forever. Thanks. Goodbye. Love you.
Bye.